So in this video, we'll see what exactly is syntax and why it matters. So if you look at words syntax in dictionary, you'll probably see it is defined as something like an arrangement. Okay, so arrangement of words and phrases to create a well-formed sentence in a language. So in programming languages like Python, there is no real such thing as a well-formed sentences. So with code, we generally refer to each line of code as a statement or a line of code itself. Okay, but the order of words is important. So usually, grammatically, it makes much sense. There are words in like having one word after one word will take syntactically correct, but whereas it doesn't form a meaning. For example, here we have three statements which is written down in a simple English language itself. Okay, so here I'm using three different words, but basically they are jumbled up. Okay, so Mary married John, John married Mary. Okay, so all three statements are using the exact same words, but the meanings are very different. So the first two makes it very clear, like who is marrying whom. If at all Mary and John are the same person, then definitely it is giving kind of a similar statement. But the last one is little hard to interpret. Okay, so even though they all contain the same exact words, proper syntax in programming language is as bit as important in human language. Okay, so you can't just randomly jumble up. Uh, Even more in some ways, because when you make mistakes like a spelling mistake while speaking or writing to someone, that the other person can usually figure out what you meant by the context of the words. But here you can tell married Mary and John. Okay, so married maybe like if you have exclamation, if you miss out those exclamation or commas or whatever with respect to uh, the English grammatical things which are required to make it as a proper sentence. So if I tell this married Mary John, so even this will make a sense to a person who is trying to read it. Okay, but like he or she can figure out what exactly is happening and what exactly is the message you are trying to convey using the words as a context. Okay, but with respect to computers, they actually don't have brains, so can't guess what exactly is like actual meaning based on the context. So in fact, the whole concept of context doesn't even exist in computers. So syntax matters even more when writing code to tell the computer what to do than it does in the human language. So in human language, when we are communicating with someone, we can jumble a few words. It will still make sense. But whereas computers, it does not make sense what exactly you say. It will follow the exact same statements. So looking back, like again in the previous session, I had told we will not, computer will not be doing decisions based on judgmental calls, but rather they will be based on factual ones. Okay, like for comparison, we had that. So in the same example, we had declaration statement, right? So x is equal to 10. Over here, the variable is some kind of words. We just like it's a some name which we just made up. Okay, we are just storing the value of the variable. Okay, so we are storing a value in that variable. So basically here represent y. So here it is a proper syntax. So if you try the reverse way, what happens? So 10 is equal to x. Okay, but here if I'm writing this statement, if I'm writing this code and showing it to someone else, he or she will be able to figure out that 10 is equal to x means basically you're declaring x as 10, which will work for humans. Okay, but this does not work with systems. So it will directly tell us syntax. So Python won't work. So if at all if you write if this line is somewhere in between the many Python codes, so when this is executed, nothing I think nothing terrible will happen. It won't break anything, but it will give an error message. So that is telling like the syntax is error. So Python will recognize what kind of syntax is error, or also it was recognizing many kind of errors. Okay, so previously we was trying to concatenate is integer with string, which Python found it the error. So even the newer versions are getting more smarter and all. So we'll try this with respect to our Python shell. Okay, so let us just open our spider. Okay, we'll work on shell itself. So here let me tell x is equal to 10, which perfectly works, right? So x is equal to 10, x is equal to 0. Okay, x is equal to 10. Okay, it perfectly works, 0 or 10. So what if I'm telling 10 is equal to maybe x or y? Does not work. So telling cannot assign to a letter. So also here it also sees whether the number is like a variable should not start with numbers. Okay, so that is the reason. And here also you can have some kind of names. Okay, and in addition, which I would like to tell you is in if you are familiar with C language or C++, we usually use semicolon, right? So, but in Python, we don't use semicolon, rather a new line. And also we used indentation, which we'll be seeing later on in the course. But a semicolon can be used in a Python, which is perfectly fine. Okay, it is a semicolon is perfectly acceptable by Python. It will use as a line break instead of using. So here I want to declare many things. Okay, so a is equal to 5. I don't want to execute by entering enter. Okay, so maybe I want to execute a is equal to 5. Now I can use a semicolon, b is equal to 10, semicolon, a is equal to 15, and it will execute not a is equal to, we'll use a different variable, c is equal to 15. So here all three are updated. You can see those same values are getting updated over here, abc. So 10, 5, 10, 15. So similarly, if you want to print something, so I want to print name, so maybe we'll have two names. So first name is equal to, again this is a string, so we'll have this. So maybe you can have two names. So you can take any names. So maybe I'll take the famous Ratan Tata. So Ratan as my first name. So maybe I'll address him as Sir Ratan Tata. Maybe I'll give as 3 this one. So let me tell name as some other variable. Okay, so let me declare what can we declare for sir. Maybe we can tell as prefix as sir. Okay, then semicolon, which will perfectly work as this one, and also you can have a space, which is of no, it doesn't has any effect. So again last name, Tata. Okay, you can execute this at once. So it is taking Sir Ratan Tata as name, and also you can print it. Again I'll redeclare it by using a print statement. Print again we can print multiple names, right? So prefix, comma. So okay, first name, then last name. So let me execute that. So it is telling Sir Ratan Tata. Okay, so this is here we have an advantage if at all you are working on console and you want to execute one statement after another statement. So here there is actually no advantage or disadvantage in terms of how exactly the code runs. So the code runs exactly the same way. You can declare prefix first, then first name, then last name, then again finally print statement. So you can run the print statement. So it will print out the same thing. So the only difference is the semicolon breaks the line and tells it is in the next line. So if I am not using semicolon, a is equal to 5, b is equal to 5. It's an invalid syntax, right? So a 5 and b, it is taking as one single. So it is not even going to the next statement, a and b. So 5 and b over here only, it is giving an error. But you can do multiple declaration in a single statement by using a comma. So Python is like kind of a English like. So I was telling a comma b will be equal to 5 comma 10. This will perfectly work. So if I see a value, if I see b value, it is working. So maybe I had already declared it over here. Let me declare it as m and n. M and n is equal to maybe 1 comma 2. So you can see m and n here updated 1 and 2. So here you can do multiple declarations like this by using just commas. So that will again perfectly work. So that's all for this video. We had very basic introduction what exactly like a syntax and why exactly it is important. In the next videos we will actually start working on more on code. So we'll discuss more about numbers.